Commander Thel stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the blue planet on the main screen. Earth. It hung in the darkness of space like a jewel. This was routine work. His fleet had done this kind of mission hundreds of times before. Find a new civilization. Send the greeting. See if they were ready to join the galactic community. Communications Officer Ven, send the standard hail, Thel said. His voice was calm and professional. Ven, a young Valorian with pale green skin, nodded and pressed several buttons on her console. Sending now. Commander. Using the traditional 7 protocols of peaceful approach. The message that went out was complex. It started with mathematical sequences that any space-capable species would understand. Then came the greeting in the old language of the galactic community. The protocols had been perfected over 40,000 years. More than 10,000 species used them across the galaxy. Every first contact followed the same pattern. The humans below would receive the message. They would be confused. They might take days or weeks to understand it. Eventually, they would send back something simple. Maybe numbers, maybe a basic greeting. Then the real work would begin. Teaching them the protocols, explaining the community, helping them take their first steps into galactic civilization. Thel had done this 17 times in his career. It was always the same. Message sent, Commander, Ven said. Now we wait. Thel nodded. He looked at his second-in-command. Officer Kren. What do we know about them? Kren pulled up data on his screen. They call themselves humans. They have basic space travel. Chemical rockets. They have sent probes to other planets in their system, some satellites around their world. Standard development pattern for a Level 2 civilization. Any signs of faster-than-light capability? Thel asked. None detected, sir. They appear isolated. No contact with any other species. Good, Thel said. A clean first contact, then. The bridge crew relaxed. Clean contacts were easy. No complications. No previous bad experiences with other species. Just a new civilization, taking its first steps into the larger universe. 90 seconds passed. Commander! Ven's voice was suddenly sharp. We have a response. Thel frowned. Already? That's not possible. They couldn't have decoded the... Sir. They're using the proper cipher sequence. The diplomatic codes. They're responding with perfect protocol compliance. The bridge went silent. Every crew member turned to look at the communications station. Show me, Thel said quietly. The message appeared on the main screen. Thel read it once. Then, again. His hands started to shake. The message was perfect. It used the correct honorific for an expeditionary commander. It acknowledged each of the 7 protocols in order. It even included the proper response codes that indicated peaceful intent and willingness to engage in formal diplomatic relations. The message came from a place called South Korea. It was signed by someone named Director Jin Minho of Earth Authority, External Relations Division. This is wrong, Kren whispered. This is very wrong. Ven was frantically typing on her console. Commander, I'm checking the database. Earth is listed as isolated. No contact. No previous visits from any community species. They shouldn't know these protocols. Thel felt cold fear settle in his stomach. There were only 2 ways a civilization could know the galactic community's first contact protocols without being taught them. The first way was terrible. They had encountered a previous contact team and destroyed them. Taken their computers. Learned the protocols from stolen technology. It meant they were hostile and dangerous. The second way was worse. Much worse. Sound battle stations. Thel said softly. Sir? Kren looked shocked. Sound. Battle. Stations. Thel's voice was hard now. And send a priority alert to Galactic Command. Code. Starfall. Sarfall. Starfall. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Alarms blared. Crew members rushed to their combat positions. Shields powered up. Weapons systems came online. Kren moved close to Thel. "Commander, code Starfall is only used for. You can't think there." A sleeper civilization," Thel said. "Yes, that's exactly what I think." Ven looked up from her console. Her face was pale. "I've reviewed our scans of their system. If they're hiding their true capabilities, we wouldn't necessarily detect it. Our sensors are designed to find active technology, not hidden assets." Thel nodded slowly. Sleeper civilizations were a terror from ancient times. They were spacefaring species that deliberately hid their true power. They pretended to be primitive while secretly spreading throughout the galaxy. They learned. They watched. They waited. By the time they revealed themselves, they were already everywhere, already inside every defense perimeter, already too strong to stop. The galactic community had encountered 3 sleeper civilizations in its history. Each time, it had nearly destroyed the community. The last one had been 8,000 years ago. Since then, the community had been vigilant, watching for any signs, and now Earth had shown the primary sign: knowledge they shouldn't possess. "How long have they been watching us?" Kren asked quietly. "If they know our protocols, they must have been studying us for years, maybe decades. How many ships have they sent into community space? How many of our worlds have they visited without us knowing?" Thel didn't answer. He was thinking about all the planets in the community, all the systems they protected. If humans had ships that could travel without being detected, they could be anywhere, could have bases anywhere, could be watching everything. "Commander, Galactic Command is responding to our alert," Ven said. "They want confirmation of your assessment." "Tell them I'm certain," Thel said. "Earth knew our protocols perfectly. They responded in 90 seconds. They have a department specifically for external relations with species they claim never to have met. The evidence is clear. There, say. There. There." Another message came from Earth. Thel watched it appear on his screen. It was another perfect diplomatic communication. Director Jin Minho was requesting a dialogue. He suggested neutral meeting coordinates. He assured them that Earth wanted peaceful relations. The words were friendly. The tone was professional. But Thel could read between the lines. This Jin Minho knew exactly what effect Earth's response would have. He knew it would terrify them. And he had done it anyway. That meant Earth was confident. Confident enough to reveal themselves. Confident enough to force contact on their terms. "What do we do, Commander?" Kren asked. Thel looked at the blue planet on the screen. Somewhere down there, humans were watching his fleet, waiting to see what they would do. Humans who had been secretly traveling the galaxy while pretending to be isolated. Humans who knew far more about the galactic community than the community knew about them. "We wait for orders from Galactic Command," Thel said. "And we pray they're smarter than we are. Because we just made contact with something we're not prepared for." On Earth, in a facility in Seoul, Director Jin Minho watched the alien fleet's shields power up. He had expected this reaction. Everything was going according to plan. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity had just fired the opening move in a game they had been preparing for decades. The real question was whether the galactic community would choose peace or war. Jin hoped for peace. But humanity was ready for either option. The alert from Commander Thel reached Galactic Command in less than an hour. Within 2 hours, it had spread to every major species in the community. Within 4 hours, the galaxy was in controlled panic. High Chancellor Moros of the Galactic Council stood in the command center and read the report for the 3rd time. His 4 hands trembled slightly. Around him, representatives from dozens of species talked in urgent whispers. "It can't be," someone said. "Not another sleeper." "The evidence is clear," Moros said. His voice was steady despite his fear. Earth responded with perfect protocol knowledge. They have a department for external relations. They were expecting contact. Number 10. This, Addis. Number 10. Number 10. A Crethean ambassador stepped forward. Send a battle fleet. Contain them before they can spread further. They may already be everywhere, Moros said quietly. That's what sleepers do. They hide. They spread. They wait. If Earth is a sleeper civilization, they could have bases throughout community space already. The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The last sleeper civilization had nearly destroyed the community 8,000 years ago. It had taken a century of war to stop them. Millions had died. We need more information, Moros said. Commander Thel is in position. Let him make contact. Learn what we can. Then we decide our next move. On Earth, Director Jin Minho sat in his office and reviewed the data his team had collected. The Valorian fleet was maintaining distance. They had powered up their shields, but hadn't made any aggressive moves. Good. That meant they were scared but still thinking rationally. Jin was 54 years old. He had spent the last 23 years preparing for this moment. He was tall for a Korean man, with silver hair and calm eyes. His team said he never showed stress. That wasn't true. He just hid it well. His assistant, a young woman named Park Seo-yeon, entered the office with a tablet. Sir, we're detecting increased communications between the Valorian fleet and multiple systems throughout the community. They're spreading the word. Ow. Expected, Jin said. How long until the entire community knows? Already happening, sir. Our listening posts are picking up chatter from 40 different species. The word sleeper keeps appearing in their communications. Jin allowed himself a small smile. Perfect. Fear will make them cautious. Caution will give us time to talk. Some are calling for immediate military action, Seo-yeon said. Some always do. But most will want to understand the situation first. That's when we make our move. Jin stood and walked to the window. His office overlooked Seoul. Outside, people went about their normal lives. Most of them didn't know that aliens existed, didn't know that humanity had been secretly traveling the galaxy for 80 years, didn't know that today, everything changed. Sir, are you sure about this plan? Seo-yeon asked. If we miscalculate, then we fight, Jin said simply. But we won't miscalculate. We've been watching them for decades. We know how they think. We know their fears. We know their weaknesses. He turned from the window. Pull up. File Omega. I want to review it one more time, before the meeting. Seo-yeon pressed buttons on her tablet. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed data collected over 80 years of secret human exploration. Jin read through it again, though he had memorized every detail. Earth had developed experimental quantum slip drives in 1945, shortly after World War II ended. The governments of the world, terrified by the atomic bomb, had united in secret. They poured resources into space exploration, not to escape Earth, but to find out if there were other threats in the universe. In 1965, the first human ship reached another star system using the quantum slip drive. They found nothing there. But in 1967, they found the galactic community, a vast federation of thousands of species spread across the galaxy. The early explorers were careful. They stayed hidden. They watched and learned. They discovered that the community used slower FTL technology than Earth's drives. Human ships could move without being detected. Over decades, Earth sent small survey vessels across the galaxy. They learned languages. They monitored communications. They studied cultures. And they discovered the truth about the galactic community. It wasn't a peaceful federation. It was a protection racket. Species were given a choice. Join the community and follow its rules. Or face economic warfare, blockades, and strategic destabilization. The community called it encouraging integration. Earth's analysts had another word for it: extortion. The community's records showed 17 civilizations that had refused integration in the last 2,000 years. All 17 had mysteriously collapsed within decades of refusing. Economic crashes, civil wars, environmental disasters. The community claimed these were natural tragedies. Earth's intelligence showed they were coordinated operations. Jin had spent years reviewing the evidence. It made him angry. But anger wasn't useful. Cold calculation was. The question, Jin said to Se-yun, is why reveal ourselves now? We could have stayed hidden for centuries more. Because the community was going to find us anyway, Se-yun said. She had heard this explanation many times. We've advanced to the point where we can't hide our technology anymore. Better to reveal ourselves on our terms than be discovered by accident. Correct, Jin said. And what advantage do we gain by revealing our knowledge of their protocols immediately? We show strength. We show that we're not primitives to be manipulated. We force them to treat us as equals from the first moment. Jin nodded. And we show them we've been watching, that we know their secrets. Fear makes them cautious. Caution gives us leverage. A communication alert sounded. Se-yun checked her tablet. Sir, Commander Thel is requesting a face-to-face meeting. He says he's willing to come to neutral territory. Jin raised an eyebrow. Brave of him. Or desperate. Either way, it's progress. Send him coordinates for Station Harmony. Station Harmony, sir? Are you sure? That reveals that we have permanent facilities in deep space? Yes. It's time they knew. Jin sat back down at his desk. Schedule the meeting for 72 hours from now. That gives them time to verify our station exists and report back to their superiors. It also gives us time to prepare. What will you tell him, sir? Jin was quiet for a moment. The truth. Or at least, enough of it. I'll tell him that we've been watching. That we know what the community really is. That we have evidence of their crimes. And I'll give them a choice. A choice? Peace or exposure. They can accept us as equal partners and begin genuine reforms. Or we reveal everything to the galaxy. Every piece of evidence. Every coordinated collapse. Every lie they've told about being a peaceful federation. Se-yun looked worried. That could start a galactic civil war. It could, Jin agreed. Which is why they'll choose peace. They're not ready for that kind of chaos. But we need to show we're serious. That we're willing to burn it all down if necessary. He pulled up another file. Begin moving our deep space assets into position. I want our hidden bases ready for reveal on my command. If we're going to show them we're everywhere, let's make it dramatic. How many bases should we reveal, sir? 3. Just 3. Let them wonder how many more we have hidden. Se-yun smiled. Psychological warfare. The best kind, Jin said. No one dies. But the fear is real. They'll imagine we have hundreds of bases. The truth doesn't matter. Their imagination will do our work for us. Over the next 72 hours, the galaxy watched and waited. Commander Thel prepared for his meeting. The Galactic Council debated their options, and on Earth, Jin Minho reviewed his plans one final time. Humanity had stayed hidden for 80 years. Now, they were stepping into the light. The galaxy would never be the same. Station Harmony floated in the darkness between stars. Commander Thel's shuttle approached slowly, and with each passing moment, his concern grew deeper. The station was huge. It was sophisticated. It had obviously been here for a long time. How did we never detect this? Officer Kren whispered from the co-pilot seat. Thel had no answer. The station was comparable to Valorian technology in every way. Its design was efficient and practical. Its power signature was minimal. If they hadn't been given the exact coordinates, they would have passed right by it without noticing. The shuttle docked smoothly. Automated systems guided them in. Through the viewport, Thel saw a human waiting in the docking bay. He wore a simple, dark suit. His posture was relaxed and confident. "That must be Director Jin," Thel said. He took a deep breath. "Remember, we're here to gather information. Stay calm. Stay professional." They exited the shuttle. The human walked forward with his hand extended. Thel had studied human customs during the flight. This gesture meant peace. He reached out his own hand, and they made contact. "Commander Thel," Jin said, in perfect Valorian language. "Welcome to Station Harmony. Thank you for coming. Your language skills are impressive," Thel said carefully. "We've had time to practice," Jin replied with a slight smile. "Please, follow me. We have much to discuss." Jin led them through the station corridors. Thel noticed everything. The technology was consistent throughout. No obvious weapons, but plenty of security cameras. The station felt lived in, not newly built. Several other humans passed them in the corridors, all going about their work with casual familiarity. They entered a meeting room. A large table dominated the center. Windows showed the stars outside. Jin gestured for them to sit. "I'll be direct," Jin said once they were settled. "I know what you think we are. A sleeper civilization." "You're partially correct." Kren tensed, but Thel held up a hand for patience. "We have been traveling the galaxy in secret," Jin continued. "For 80 years, we've observed hundreds of species. We've learned your languages and your protocols. We've established stations like this one in deep space." He paused. "But we're not what you fear. We're not conquerors. We're not preparing to attack the community." "Then what are you?" Thel asked. Jin touched a control on the table. A holographic display appeared. It showed data, dates, communications, financial records. Thel recognized some of it immediately. These were classified community records. "We're witnesses," Jin said quietly. "We've been watching, and we've learned the truth about the galactic community." Over the next hour, Jin presented his evidence. Thel felt sick as he reviewed it. The data showed coordinated operations against species that refused to join the community. Economic manipulation, strategic sabotage, information warfare. In some cases, even covert military action, disguised as internal conflicts. "The Tekari Confederation," Jin said, pulling up one file. "Refused integration 240 years ago. Within 10 years, their economy collapsed. Your records say it was due to poor resource management. Our surveillance shows community operatives manipulating their trade networks and spreading false information about their stability." He pulled up another file. "The Velen Commonwealth. Declined membership 150 years ago. Civil war broke out within 5 years. Community records say it was inevitable due to cultural tensions. Our intelligence shows community agents providing weapons to both sides and ensuring the conflict couldn't be resolved peacefully." Thel wanted to argue, wanted to say it wasn't true. But the evidence was overwhelming. Communications between community officials discussing the operations. Financial trails showing funding for destabilization efforts. Surveillance footage of covert agents at work. 17 civilizations, Jin said softly. All refused integration. All collapsed within decades. You call it coincidence. We call it murder. "Why are you telling me this?" Thel asked. His voice was hollow. "Because you need to understand our position," Jin said. "We've seen what the community does to species who resist. We know that if we revealed ourselves as a primitive civilization, you would give us the same choice you give everyone else. Join or face consequences." He leaned forward. "But we're not primitive. We're not weak. And we're not going to be another victim." Kren spoke up, his voice angry. "So what? You'll expose us? Cause chaos across the galaxy? How many will die if you destroy the community?" Kren spoke up. Kren spoke up. Kren spoke up. "We don't want to destroy the community," Jin said. "We want to save it." That caught Thel off guard. Jin stood and walked to the window. The community could be something wonderful. A true federation of equals. A place where species help each other voluntarily, not through coercion. But it can't become that, while these practices continue. He turned back to them. We're giving the community a choice. Accept Earth as an equal partner. Begin genuine reforms. Stop the intimidation and manipulation. Become what you claim to be. Or you reveal everything? Thel finished. Yes. We'll release this evidence to every species in the galaxy. We'll show them what the community really is. Let them decide if they want to remain part of it. That would cause massive chaos, Kren said. Rebellions, wars, the deaths of millions. Yes, Jin agreed. Which is why we're hoping you choose the peaceful option. We'd prefer cooperation to destruction. But we won't be intimidated. We won't be manipulated. We won't become victim number 18. Thel sat in silence, thinking. Finally, he asked, why reveal yourselves at all? Why not stay hidden? Because hiding was always temporary, Jin said. Eventually, someone would detect us. Eventually, the community would discover we exist. Better to reveal ourselves on our terms, with leverage, than to be discovered by accident and forced to respond. He sat back down at the table. And there's another reason. We've been watching your community destroy civilizations for 80 years. We've done nothing to stop it, because we weren't ready. But now we are. We can't stand by anymore, while innocent species are crushed for refusing to submit. Thel looked at the human across from him. Jin's face was calm, but his eyes were hard. This was a man who had made difficult decisions and lived with them. This was a man who wouldn't back down. How many bases do you have? Thel asked. How many stations like this one? Jin smiled slightly. Enough. We'll reveal the coordinates of 3 of them to the Galactic Council. Verification teams can visit them and confirm they exist. As for the rest, he shrugged. That's information we'll keep private. You want us to fear you, Kren said. We want you to respect us, Jin corrected. Fear is just a tool to achieve that respect. We'd prefer genuine partnership, but we'll settle for cautious cooperation if necessary. Thel stood. I need to report this to the council. They'll need to make the final decision. Of course, Jin said, standing as well. I'll wait for their response. But Commander, tell them something for me. What? Tell them that Earth doesn't want to be their enemy. We admire what the community could be. We respect the goal of bringing species together. We just won't tolerate corruption and coercion in pursuit of that goal. If the community is willing to change, we're willing to help make it better. 2. Thel nodded slowly. As he and Kren left the meeting room, his mind was spinning with everything he had learned. Part of him wanted to reject Jin's evidence as lies, but he knew it was real. He had seen too much truth in those records. The galaxy was about to face a crisis. The question was whether the community would choose to evolve or cling to its old ways. And Commander Thel had the responsibility of presenting this impossible choice to the people who would decide the future of billions. As his shuttle departed from Station Harmony, Thel looked back at the human facility. Somewhere in there, Jin Minho was watching him leave, waiting to see if his gamble would pay off, waiting to see if the galaxy could change. Thel hoped it could, because the alternative was too terrible to imagine. The Grand Council chamber was filled with representatives from 847 major species. It was the largest gathering in decades. High Chancellor Moros stood at the center podium, waiting for the noise to die down. Order, he called out. His voice echoed through the massive chamber. We will have order. The representatives slowly quieted. Moros could feel the tension in the air. Everyone knew what this meeting was about. Everyone had read Commander Thel's report. We face an unprecedented situation, Moros began. The species called humanity has revealed itself as a sleeper civilization. They have been traveling our galaxy in secret for 80 years. They possess evidence of community operations that we would prefer remain classified, and they are demanding fundamental changes to how our community operates. A Krethian ambassador stood. We should reject their demands. Send a fleet to contain them. They are one species. We are thousands. They cannot threaten us all. They have bases throughout our space, Moros replied. We don't know how many. We don't know where they all are. And they have technology that allowed them to remain hidden from our sensors for 8 decades. Then we use overwhelming force, the Krethian insisted. Strike Earth directly. End this threat before it grows. A Velen representative stood, her voice cutting through the chamber. And start a war with an unknown enemy? An enemy that has been studying us for decades while we knew nothing about them? That seems unwise. We cannot show weakness. Another voice called out. This isn't about weakness, a Tekari delegate said quietly. I've reviewed their evidence about what happened to my people 2 centuries ago. The data they possess is troubling. The chamber erupted in argument. Some called for military action. Others urged caution. A few demanded to see the full evidence. The noise grew louder until Moros had to call for order again. Enough, he said firmly. Before we decide on action, we must address the elephant in the room. The humans possess detailed evidence of our interference operations. If they release this information publicly, the consequences will be severe. An older ambassador from a founding species stood. Then we must ask ourselves, is that evidence legitimate? Or are they lying to manipulate us? Well, Commander Thel reviewed their data personally, Moros said. His report states the evidence appears genuine. Communications, records, financial trails, surveillance footage. All from our own systems. How did they get access to our classified systems? Someone demanded. That's the question we should have been asking 80 years ago, Moros said dryly. But we didn't know they existed. That's the problem with sleeper civilizations. By the time you know about them, they already know everything about you. While the council debated, Jin Minho sat in his office on Earth and monitored the proceedings. Earth's listening posts had infiltrated the council's communication networks decades ago. He could hear everything they were saying. They're splitting into factions, Park Seo-yeon reported. About 40% want military action. 30% want negotiation. The rest are undecided. Not good enough, Jin said. We need more pressure. He made a decision. Release the data packet to our target species. Just enough to prove we're serious. Seo-yeon hesitated. Sir, that might push them toward war, or it might push them toward peace. We can't let them think we're bluffing. Within the hour, 50 smaller species throughout the community received anonymous data packets. The information was carefully selected. Evidence of how the community had manipulated their economies. Records of covert operations against their citizens. Proof that they were not equal partners, but subordinate members. The effect was immediate. Protests broke out on multiple worlds. Governments demanded explanations from the community. Social media networks flooded with angry citizens, questioning their leaders. Back in the Grand Council chamber, emergency messages began arriving. Ambassadors read them with growing alarm. The situation was escalating. This is Earth's doing, the Krethian ambassador shouted. They're destabilizing us from within. This proves they're hostile. Or it proves they're serious, the Velen representative countered. They could have released everything. Instead, they released just enough to show they have the capability. They're demonstrating restraint while also showing strength. Moros called for another vote. All those in favor of accepting Earth's proposal for partnership and reform? 293 votes in favor. All those in favor of military containment of Earth? 307 votes in favor. All those who abstain? 247 abstentions. The chamber fell silent. No clear majority. The community was paralyzed. Then something unexpected happened. Jin Minho's face appeared on the main display screen. Every ambassador jumped. How had he accessed their secure communication system? Honorable members of the Grand Council, Jin said calmly. I apologize for the intrusion, but I believe I can help you make your decision. This is a violation of our security, someone shouted. Yes, Jin agreed. Just as your covert operations against peaceful species were violations of their sovereignty. But let's move past accusations. I want to show you something. The display changed. It showed coordinates, 3 sets of coordinates in deep space. These are the locations of 3 human bases in community territory, Jin said. We built them over the past 50 years. You never detected them. I invite you to send verification teams to confirm they exist. They're fully operational. They've been watching your activities for decades. The chamber was silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. If humans had 3 bases they were willing to reveal, how many more did they have hidden? Now imagine, Jin continued, that we had hostile intent. Imagine we wanted to conquer or destroy the community. We've had 50 years to position assets, 50 years to infiltrate your systems, 50 years to prepare for war. If that was our goal, we would have struck already. But we haven't. Why? He paused, letting the question hang in the air. Because we don't want war. We want partnership. We want the community to be what it claims to be. A federation of equals. But we won't join a system built on coercion and manipulation. We won't become your victims. So, you have a choice. The display changed again, showing 2 paths. Path 1. Accept us as partners. Begin genuine reforms. Stop the intimidation operations. Let species choose membership freely, without fear of consequences. Work with us to build a better community. If you choose this path, we'll share our technology. We'll help strengthen the community against external threats. We'll be your allies. The display shifted. Path 2. Reject our terms. Try to contain or destroy us. Force us to release all our evidence publicly. Watch as your community tears itself apart in civil wars and rebellions. Watch as billions die because you couldn't let go of power. Jin's face returned to the screen. I don't want Path 2. You don't want Path 2. No one wins in that scenario. So I'm asking you to choose wisely. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, our offer expires. The screen went dark. Jin was gone. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Moros let them argue for a few minutes, then called for order once more. We need a decision. The humans have shown they can access our most secure systems. They have bases throughout our space. They have evidence that could destroy us, and they're offering peace. I believe we should accept. Quote, it sets a dangerous precedent, the Krethian ambassador argued. Other species will think they can threaten us into compliance. Other species don't have 80 years of preparation and unknown capabilities, Moros replied. This is a unique situation that requires a unique response. He called for a final vote. All those in favor of accepting Earth's partnership proposal? Slowly, hands began to rise. Some ambassadors voted reluctantly. Others voted eagerly. But one by one, the majority shifted. Final count. 432 in favor, 320 against, 95 abstentions. It was done. The community had voted for peace. Moros sent the official response to Earth. Within minutes, Jin Minho replied with a simple message. Thank you. We look forward to working together. Humanity will not disappoint you. As the council adjourned, ambassadors filed out in small groups, talking in hushed voices. Some were angry. Some were relieved. All of them knew that nothing would ever be the same. The galaxy had changed. And humanity had changed it not through superior weapons or overwhelming force, but through information, leverage, and the careful application of pressure. It was a lesson that would not be forgotten. 6 months after the vote, Director Jin Minho stood in the newly established Earth Embassy on the community's capital world. Through the large windows, he watched alien species walking through the streets below. It still felt surreal sometimes. For 80 years, humanity had watched from the shadows. Now, they were part of the galaxy's official community. But the integration wasn't smooth. It had never been going to be smooth. "Sir, we have another incident," Park Seo-yeon said, entering his office with a troubled expression. "The Crethians have detained one of our cargo ships at the border station near their territory. They're claiming improper documentation." Jin sighed. "The documentation is proper. We filed it according to the new protocols 3 weeks ago. The Crethians are saying they never received it." "Of course they are." Jin stood and walked to his desk. "This is the third incident this month. They're testing us, seeing if we'll fight back or back down." The Crethians had voted against Earth's entry into the community. They were one of the more aggressive species, and they didn't like having a new power emerge that they couldn't intimidate. For 6 months, they had been finding small ways to make Earth's integration difficult. Blocking trade agreements, questioning Earth's ships, spreading rumors about human intentions. "What do you want to do?" Seo-yeon asked. Jin thought for a moment. "Get me all the information we have on the current Crethian government. Financial records, communications, everything. And find out who's leading the reform movement in their system." Seo-yeon's eyes widened. "Sir, are you sure? That's the same kind of operation the old community used to do." "No," Jin said firmly. "The old community interfered to destroy. We're going to interfere to support. There's a difference." Over the next 2 weeks, Earth's intelligence services gathered information on the Crethian government. They found evidence of massive corruption. Government officials stealing public funds, contracts given to friends and family, resources diverted from social programs to private accounts. They also found a growing reform movement. Young Crethians who wanted their government to change, who wanted transparency and honesty, who were tired of corruption, but lacked the evidence to prove it existed. Jin made his decision. Earth released the corruption evidence anonymously to the Crethian public. They also provided secure communication tools to the reform activists. They offered technical support and advice, but they didn't control anything. Didn't tell the Crethians what to do. Just gave them the tools and information to make their own choices. Within 3 weeks, protests erupted across Crethian worlds. The government tried to suppress them but couldn't. The evidence was too clear. The public anger was too strong. Government officials began resigning. Investigations started. The old corrupt system began to crumble. And on the border station, the Crethian commander who had detained the Earth ship quietly released it with an apology. The new acting government wanted to avoid further controversy. Commander Thel, who had been appointed as the community's liaison to Earth, met with Jin a few days later. "That was a dangerous move," Thel said. "You interfered in a member species' internal affairs." "We supported their people against corrupt leaders," Jin corrected. "We didn't choose their government. We didn't manipulate their economy. We just gave citizens the truth about their own leaders. The result is the same. You changed their government. They changed their government. We just provided information." Jin looked at Thel seriously. "Commander, this is the difference between the old community and what we're building. The old way was to destabilize species from above, crash their economies, start wars, force them to collapse. Our way is to support people from below. Give them truth. Give them tools. Let them make their own choices." Thel was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You know other species are watching. They see what you did to the Crethians. They're wondering if they're next." Let them wonder," Jin said. "Maybe their corrupt leaders will think twice before abusing power. Maybe their people will demand more accountability. That's not a bad thing." Over the following months, something interesting happened. Other species began quietly approaching Earth. Not their governments, Their people. Activists. Reformers. People who wanted change but didn't have the resources to fight their own corrupt systems. Earth helped them. Carefully. Selectively. They provided evidence of corruption when they had it. They offered secure communication tools. They gave advice on organizing peaceful movements. But they never took control. Never made decisions for other species. Just supported those who wanted to make their own worlds better. It became a pattern. A species would challenge or obstruct Earth. Earth would respond by supporting reform movements in that species' territory. Within weeks, the government would face internal pressure and back down. The message was clear. If you're going to be hostile to Earth, make sure your own house is in order first. Jin met with the Galactic Council 6 months into this new pattern. High Chancellor Moros looked tired. "You're causing chaos," Moros said bluntly. 7 governments have fallen in the past 4 months. All because of your interventions. 7 corrupt governments, Jin corrected. And they fell because their own people rejected them. We didn't fire a single shot, didn't crash a single economy, didn't start a single war. We just provided information. Information can be a weapon, yes. But it's a weapon that helps people instead of hurting them. Jin leaned forward. "Chancellor, this is exactly what we talked about. The community needs to change. Species need to be held accountable. We're just accelerating that process. By destabilizing half the galaxy. By empowering billions of citizens to demand better leadership." Jin pulled up a display. "Look at the results. The 7 governments that fell have been replaced by more transparent, more democratic systems. Crime is down in those territories. Economic productivity is up. Citizens are happier. How is that chaos?" Moros studied the data. He had to admit, Jin was right. The new governments were better than the old ones, but the speed of change was frightening. "What's your endgame?" Moros asked. "Where does this stop?" "When the community is what it claims to be," Jin said simply. "A true federation of equals. When species can join voluntarily without fear. When corrupt leaders can't use community protection to abuse their people. When the galaxy actually believes the community is a force for good." He stood and walked to the window. "We didn't ask to be the catalyst for change. We just wanted to protect ourselves. But now that we're here, we're not going to waste the opportunity. The galaxy can be better. We're going to help make it better." "Ride." Moros joined him at the window. "You know, many species still fear you. They see you as dangerous, unpredictable." "Good," Jin said. "Fear keeps people honest. As long as they're afraid we might reveal their corruption, they'll be more careful about being corrupt. That's still using fear as a tool. Yes. But we're using it to prevent harm, not cause it. That's the difference." Jin turned to face Moros. "Chancellor, I know this is difficult. Change always is. But ask yourself, is the community better now than it was a year ago?" Moros thought about it. Despite the turmoil, he had to admit the answer was yes. The community was more transparent, more accountable. Corruption was being exposed and punished. Species were being treated more fairly. "You're right," Moros said quietly. "But that doesn't make it less frightening." "We're not asking you to stop being frightened," Jin said. "We're asking you to channel that fear into making better choices. That's all humanity has ever done. We were frightened of being victims, so we became strong. Now we're using that strength to help others." By the end of Earth's first year in the community, the galaxy had changed dramatically. 12 corrupt governments had fallen. 17 reform movements had succeeded. The community had adopted new transparency requirements. Independent oversight committees had been established. And Earth had become something unexpected. Not a conqueror, not a destroyer, but a catalyst. A force that pushed the galaxy toward better versions of itself. Jin stood in his office one evening, reviewing reports. Earth's integration was complete. They had formal embassies on 40 worlds. trade agreements with hundreds of species, scientific partnerships, and cultural exchanges. But more importantly, they had respect. Species might fear Earth's intelligence capabilities. They might worry about human interference. But they also knew that Earth kept its word, that Earth supported justice over power, that Earth genuinely wanted the community to succeed. Commander Thel visited that evening. He had become a friend over the months. "I owe you an apology," Thel said. "When we first met, I thought you were a threat, a sleeper civilization, preparing for conquest." "We are a sleeper civilization," Jin said with a smile. "You weren't wrong about that, but you weren't preparing for conquest. You were preparing to change us. To help you change yourselves," Jin corrected. "There's a difference." They stood together, looking out at the alien city below. Ships flew between buildings. Different species walked the streets together. It wasn't perfect. There were still problems, still conflicts, still corruption in some places. But it was better. The galaxy wondered for thousands of years if they would ever meet other intelligent species, Jin said quietly. They should have been asking what those species would do once they met. Would they conquer? Would they trade? Would they share knowledge? He paused. Humanity chose a different path. We chose to challenge, to push, to demand better. Not just for ourselves, but for everyone. That's a heavy responsibility, Thel said. Yes. But someone had to take it. Jin smiled. And besides, we're human. We don't know how to do anything halfway. The stars shone above them, and somewhere out there, more human ships were traveling. Watching, learning, preparing. Not for war, not for conquest, but for the next challenge, the next corrupt system that needed reforming, the next species that needed support. The galaxy had changed, and it would keep changing, because humanity had arrived, and they brought with them something the galaxy had forgotten. The belief that things could always be better, and the courage to make them so. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched high above the gathered representatives. Hundreds of species sat in their designated sections, watching the confrontation unfold below. Ambassador Park Min-jun stood alone at the human podium, his hands clasped behind his back. His face showed no emotion as he listened to the accusations. High Commander Zex Thor of the Crovalian Empire towered over his platform. His forearms gestured wildly as he spoke, his voice booming through the translation systems. The humans refuse to acknowledge our rightful claim. They squat on worlds that belong to the Crovalian people, by ancient law. Park waited until the chamber fell silent. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. The Crovalian Empire has provided no evidence of prior habitation. Our surveys showed the systems were uninhabited. We followed all council protocols before establishing our colonies. Zex Thor slammed one of his massive fists on his podium. The sound echoed through the chamber. You pathetic newcomers dare to question us? The Crovalian Empire has ruled the stars for 3,000 years. You humans crawled into space barely 80 years ago. Other council members shifted uncomfortably. Many species had dealt with Crovalian aggression before. The Empire had grown powerful through conquest and intimidation. They claimed ancient rights to dozens of systems, always pushing, always demanding. Most species eventually surrendered rather than face their military might. Council mediator Velnara raised her thin arms, calling for order. Her species, the Peltharians, had held the mediator position for centuries. They were known for fairness and wisdom. High Commander, please present your formal demands. Zex Thor's mouthparts twisted into what might have been a smile. The demand is simple. Humanity will evacuate 8 systems within their territory. These systems fall within the traditional Crovalian sphere of influence. If they refuse, he paused dramatically, we will remove them by force. Murmurs spread through the chamber. 8 systems represented more than half of humanity's colonial presence. Millions of humans lived on those worlds. Families, farms, cities, research stations. The demand was essentially asking humanity to abandon their entire presence in that region of space. Park's expression did not change. How much time does the Empire propose for such an evacuation? Zex Thor laughed, a harsh sound that made several smaller species flinch. We are generous. We give you 30 standard days to remove your presence. That is insufficient time to safely evacuate civilian populations, Park said quietly. We would need at least 90 days to ensure everyone's safety. The Crevalian commander's eyes narrowed. You dare to negotiate? Very well. You have 10 days, not 1 minute more. After that, the Crevalian armada will enter human space and cleanse those worlds. Any humans remaining will be considered hostile combatants. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Even by Crevalian standards, this was aggressive. 10 days could not possibly allow for proper evacuation. It was designed to force a confrontation. Velnara looked at Park with sympathy in her large eyes. Ambassador Park, does Earth wish to respond? Park stood silent for a long moment. Every eye in the chamber watched him. Finally, he spoke. The people of Earth are not warriors by choice, High Commander. We came to the stars seeking friendship and cooperation. We have always chosen diplomacy over conflict. Zex Thor interrupted with another harsh laugh. Because you are weak. Your military is laughable. 50 patrol ships against the might of the Crevalian armada? You should surrender now and save us all time. Park continued as if he had not been interrupted. However, we cannot abandon our citizens. Those worlds are their homes. Their children were born there. He paused, his dark eyes meeting Zex Thor's gaze directly. We request that the Council intervene to find a peaceful solution. Several Council members nodded approvingly. The humans were being reasonable. As always. In their 80 years among the stars, humanity had never started a war. They traded fairly, shared knowledge freely, and kept to themselves. Many species considered them ideal neighbors. Zex Thor's expression showed contempt. The Council has no authority over Crevalian sovereignty. This is between our empire and the human insects. He turned to address the full chamber. Let this be a lesson to all weak species. The strong take what they wish. The weak surrender or die. Velnara tried once more. High Commander, perhaps if we appointed a mediation committee. No. Zex Thor cut her off. The human has 10 days. The countdown begins now. He gestured to his attendants and began to leave his platform. Park spoke one more time, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We hope wisdom prevails. High Commander. War benefits no one. Zex Thor did not even look back. His delegation swept from the chamber in a display of power and arrogance. The other council members began discussing among themselves. Most seemed to pity humanity. The consensus was clear. Earth would have to surrender or face destruction. No one believed the small human defense fleet could stand against the Crevalian armada. Park gathered his data tablets and prepared to leave. Velnara approached him, genuine sadness in her expression. Ambassador, I am sorry. The Council will remember humanity's courage and dignity. Thank you, Mediator. Park said with a slight bow. He walked from the chamber, with the same calm pace he had entered with. Back in the secure human embassy, Park's demeanor changed. He moved quickly to the communication room and sealed the door. His fingers flew across the holographic controls, entering a series of complex encryption codes. The screen flickered and showed the seal of Earth's Defense Command. A stern face appeared. Admiral Kim Seo-yun, commander of Earth's Defense Fleet. I watched the session, she said without preamble. 10 days. Yes, Park confirmed. The Crevalians are completely confident. Zex Thor believes we are helpless. Kim's expression was cold and calculating. Good. Overconfidence is a weakness we can exploit. Did you get a clear reading on their fleet composition? Our passive scanners recorded everything. Their attaché brought detailed force projections to intimidate us. 500 warships, Admiral. The largest Crovalian battle fleet assembled in a century. They want to make an example of us, Kim said. Show the galaxy what happens to species who defy them. Park nodded slowly. The other species pity us. They think we will be destroyed. For the first time, Kim smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Let them think that. How long until the Crovalian fleet enters our space? Based on their current position, they will need all 10 days to assemble and reach our border. Zex Thor will want his full force present for maximum impact. Perfect. Kim leaned forward. Ambassador, you have authorization to transmit the activation codes. Park took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. He entered another series of commands. A priority communication window opened, carrying the highest level of military encryption Earth possessed. He spoke clearly into the recorder. This is Ambassador Park Min-jun, authorization code Alpha 7 Delta 9. By authority of the Earth Council and United Defense Command, I hereby activate Protocol Typhoon. Authorization is granted. Repeat. Protocol Typhoon is now active. The message would reach Earth in 6 hours. Within 12 hours, it would spread to every human colony, every station, every ship in space. And then the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. Park closed the communication and sat back in his chair. He thought about Zex Thor's arrogant laughter, his casual threats against millions of human lives. The Crovalians had made a terrible mistake. They had mistaken humanity's love of peace for inability to wage war. Earth had not forgotten its bloody history. Humans simply chose not to repeat it. But when forced, when their children were threatened, humanity remembered exactly what they were capable of. The countdown had begun. But not the countdown Zex Thor imagined. Admiral Kim Seo-yeon watched the holographic display with the patience of a hunter. 10 days had passed since Ambassador Park activated Protocol Typhoon. Now, the Crovalian Armada approached human space, their 500 warships arranged in an intimidating formation designed to inspire fear. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Admiral, the Crovalian fleet has crossed into the Henderson system, reported Commander Choi Dae-jung from his station. They are broadcasting their intentions on all frequencies. Let me hear it. Zex Thor's voice filled the command center. Attention human colonists. The Crovalian Empire claims this system by right of ancient sovereignty. You have 4 hours to board evacuation ships and depart. Any who remain will be considered enemies of the Empire. Any resistance will be met with total destruction. Kim permitted herself a cold smile. Send to all ships. Execute Phase 1. Begin the retreat. Across the Henderson system, the human defense fleet sprang into action. 50 ships, mostly frigates and destroyers, began pulling back from their positions around the colonies. On the planet below, evacuation sirens wailed. Civilian transports lifted off in apparent panic, fleeing toward the system's edge. Captain Lee Jae-sung commanded the frigate Incheon, one of the ships making the panicked retreat. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, but their communications were full of staged fear and confusion. This is Incheon to Colony Command. We cannot hold against their numbers. We must fall back. The Crovalian fleet watched the human response with satisfaction. Their sensors showed exactly what they expected. A small, overwhelmed defense force running from superior numbers. The human ships were retreating in disorder, leaving the colonies vulnerable. The humans scatter like frightened children, Zex Thor announced to his bridge crew. Advance the fleet. Destroy any military vessels that remain. We will teach these insects the price of defying Crovalian power. The massive Crovalian warships moved forward confidently. Their weapons locked onto fleeing human ships. Energy beams lanced through space, destroying 2 human frigates that were too slow to escape. Debris scattered across the vacuum. 2 confirmed kills, reported a Crovalian tactical officer. The remaining human ships are fleeing deeper into their territory. Pursue them, Zexthor commanded. I want every human military vessel destroyed. Let the survivors carry news of this defeat back to Earth. The Crovalian armada pushed deeper into human space. Over the next 6 hours, they chased the retreating human fleet through the Henderson system and into the neighboring Armstrong system. Each time they got close, the human ships would accelerate away, staying just out of effective weapons range. To the Crovalians, it looked like desperation. Their prey was running, trying to survive just a little longer. It never occurred to them that they were being led. Captain Lee kept his voice steady as he broadcast another panicked message. Armstrong Station, this is Incheon. Crovalian fleet right behind us. We need support. Anyone who can help. On the Crovalian flagship, sensors detected more human ships ahead. Another small defense group, perhaps 20 vessels. They seemed to be rallying near a cluster of asteroids, preparing to make a stand. Zexthor's tactical display showed the situation clearly. The human forces were cornered against the asteroid field. Perfect. All ships, attack formation. We will crush this resistance and move on to their core worlds. The Crovalian fleet adjusted course, accelerating toward the human position. Their weapons charged, ready to obliterate the small human force. Victory was certain. In a hidden command station buried deep inside one of the asteroids, Admiral Kim watched the enemy fleet move exactly where she wanted them. Her real command center was not on any ship. It was here, concealed inside a hollowed-out asteroid that appeared uninhabited to Crovalian sensors. Around her, dozens of officers monitored screens and displays. This was the real nerve center of human military operations. From here, Kim could coordinate assets the Crovalians did not even know existed. Admiral, the enemy fleet has entered the kill zone, Commander Choi reported. All assets are in position and ready. Kim studied the tactical display one more time. The Crovalian fleet was now surrounded by what they thought were empty asteroids and disabled space stations. In reality, every one of those positions held weapons, troops, or ships. Send to all units, Kim said clearly. Execute Phase 2. Spring the trap. What happened next would change galactic history forever. From the asteroids, massive hangar doors opened. These were not mining facilities. They were military bases, hidden in plain sight for 60 years. Warships poured out, their hulls dark and angular, built for war rather than appearance. From disabled space stations, weapons platforms activated. Point defense systems came online. Missile batteries revealed themselves. What the Crovalians thought were abandoned structures were actually fortified weapons platforms. And from the depths of space itself, hidden by advanced stealth technology humanity had never revealed, came the real Earth Defense Fleet. Captain Lee's voice changed completely, all pretense of panic gone. All human vessels, cease retreat. Combat formation, Delta 7, weapons free. The 50 fleeing human ships spun in perfect coordination. They had never been running in fear. They had been leading the enemy into position. Now they revealed weapons that had been powered down and hidden from Crovalian sensors. But it was the arrival of the main fleet that caused true shock. Over 2,000 human warships materialized from stealth. They had been there all along, invisible to Crovalian sensors, surrounding the enemy fleet like a closing fist. These were not the small patrol ships the galaxy knew about. These were true warships, built in secret over decades. The Crovalian bridge erupted in confusion. Sensors screamed warnings. Tactical displays showed red hostile markers appearing everywhere. Where there had been 50 human ships, now there were thousands. Impossible, Zexthor roared. Where did they come from? How many ships do the humans have? His tactical officer's voice shook. Commander, I count over 2,000 hostile vessels. They are surrounding us. How did we not detect them? The first human weapons opened fire, Railguns accelerated projectiles to a fraction of light speed. The heavy metal slugs punched through Crovalian shields, as if they were not there. 3 Crovalian battleships lost main power in seconds, hulls breached by weapons that should not have existed. Missile swarms followed. Thousands of smart missiles, each with advanced AI guidance, swarmed the Crovalian fleet. Their point defense systems shot down dozens, hundreds, but there were too many. Explosions blossomed across Crovalian hulls. Energy weapons, more powerful than anything the Crovalians had seen humans use, lanced through space. They did not just damage ships, they disabled them. Precision strikes took out engines, weapons, life support. The Crovalians had come to destroy. The humans had come to dominate. Admiral Kim's voice broadcast on all frequencies, calm and cold. Crovalian Fleet. This is Admiral Kim Seo-yeon of the Earth Defense Command. You came to our space seeking war. You threatened our families, our children, our homes. You mistook our desire for peace as weakness. Another wave of human weapons fire destroyed 15 Crovalian ships in a coordinated strike. You are now learning the truth. Humanity chose peace. We did not choose weakness. We have been preparing for this day since we first left Earth. Every colony has defenses. Every station has weapons. Every civilian facility can become a military asset. We hoped we would never need them. The Crovalian fleet tried to organize a counterattack, but they were surrounded and outgunned. Their formations broke apart under the relentless human assault. Ships tried to flee but found their escape routes blocked by more human vessels. You wanted to make an example of us, Kim continued. Instead, you have become the lesson. The lesson is this: never mistake mercy for weakness. Never threaten humanity's children. And never, ever start a war you cannot finish. Zex Thor stared at his tactical display in horror. In just 1 hour, his magnificent armada had been reduced to chaos. 300 ships damaged or destroyed. His formations shattered, his proud warriors fleeing in panic. The humans had not just defeated them, they had been playing with them from the start. The retreat, the apparent fear, the weak defenses, all of it had been theater, designed to draw the Crovalian fleet into a trap. All ships, Zex Thor's voice cracked slightly. But the human ships tightened their formation. There would be no easy escape. Admiral Kim's final words echoed through space. You wanted war, High Commander. Now face what humanity truly is when we stop holding back. Face annihilation. Ammon. High Commander Zex Thor gripped the arms of his command chair as another series of explosions rocked his flagship. The bridge lights flickered. Damage reports flooded in from all sections. His magnificent warship, the pride of Crovalia, was being torn apart by weapons he had never imagined humans possessed. Shield generators at 30%, his engineering officer reported. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We have lost main weapons array. Through the view screen, Zex Thor watched his armada die. Ships he had commanded for decades, vessels that had conquered a dozen worlds, were being systematically destroyed by the human fleet. Explosions lit up the darkness like terrible flowers blooming in the void. How? He whispered. How did they hide all this? Commander Choi Dae-jung sat in his command center aboard the stealth carrier Gwangju, coordinating the human assault. His screens showed the battle from multiple angles. The Crovalian fleet was trapped in a sphere of human warships, unable to escape, unable to effectively fight back. Group 7. Focus fire on those cruisers, he ordered calmly. Group 12. The Crovalian flagship is trying to charge its jump drive. Disable it. The human ships moved with precision that shocked the Crovalians. Every maneuver was coordinated. Every attack was calculated. This was not the desperate fighting of a weak species defending their homes. This was the clinical efficiency of a military machine that had been preparing for war while pretending to pursue peace. A wing of human fighters swept past the Crovalian flagship. They were small, fast, and deadly. Each carried weapons designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in Crevalian shield technology. Weaknesses that humanity had carefully studied during years of peaceful interactions. The fighters launched their payload. Smart minds attached themselves to the pride of Crevalia's hull, magnetically clamping to the armor. Seconds later, they detonated in precise sequence. The shaped charges burned through the thick armor plating, penetrating deep into the ship's interior. Jump drive is offline, Zexthor's navigator reported in despair. They knew exactly where to hit us. Oh, because they did know. Humanity had spent 80 years in space, not just exploring and colonizing. They had been learning. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange had been an opportunity to gather intelligence. While appearing friendly and open, human analysts had been studying every species they encountered, especially the aggressive ones like the Crevalians.